First of all, good morning, everybody. And we all know our task this morning, or your task, is to decide which three you want to bring forward next week. And is this mic on okay?
I'm sorry. I think I need to stop the talking amongst yourselves. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. I don't really want to hear myself, but we'll do it anyway.
Is the mic on?
Is the mic on? I can't tell. Okay, very good. Obviously, the task is for all of you to narrow it down to the three you wish to bring in next week, and to make certain that we have the community involvement that you all have indicated that you wanted and you set up in a very great way for next week. Before we begin the process, what I'm going to do is read one withdrawal message, and then from there indicate a process to you that I think would get us to that point most quickly. You can modify it, obviously, if you want, because you're the 9 who have that decision-making power. Joel Boyd has withdrawn, and some of you probably saw his 2 tweets, and I'll just read them to you very quickly. He called very early this morning and then has tweeted to his community and to all of you. And the first one is, "Thank you, Santa Fe, for your support this week. I have notified the MNPS search firm that I am withdrawing my candidacy. Santa Fe is home." And then he later said, "Thank you, Nashville, for your hospitality and interest in the work that we are doing in SFPS Santa Fe. We wish you well in your process." So Joel Boyd has withdrawn. Then here's how I would suggest we do this. One reminder and then a description of the process. The reminder is, and you all know it, you've been through this, but just it's always an important one, and that is that we're talking about 5 people now who have put their reputations on the line by coming in and interviewing. And it's very important that we do everything we can to respect that and to make our statements about why we want someone included, not necessarily why we don't. You can say things whatever you wish, obviously, but we don't want to do anything that's damaging to a reputation in the process unless it's absolutely necessary. I don't anticipate that, but it's important to do that. And the way I'd suggest we do this, it's worked pretty well in the past, is that we'll just go through the 5 that remain, and you should have 2 sheets in front of you with yesterday's schedule. If we just take them in the order, and I will say, the first one, Shawn Joseph, and then we'll go around the table, and anybody who wants to say something positive about that person, what did you see in them, we'll do that first. Then we'll give a chance for each one of you to take one of the second sheet that's there in case you want to make notes on the first one after you've listened to your colleagues. Then to circle the 3 that you would most like to bring back. But want to say it now, and then I'll remind you again, these ballots cannot be secret ballots, so you'll have to put your name on it, and if people request it afterward, after we've tallied it and taken a look at it, then those will have to be available to whomever requests that. And then after we've done that, then we will see what that tally looks like, and my experience is in most cases you will end up with 2 or 3 that look like they are the ones that are most of you circled, which then shortens the discussion on your behalf. You can go back and resurrect someone who's not on there, but then it may be that there's all 3 that there's pretty much consensus on. If there isn't, we have a discussion about which 3, and one of you can make a motion to move forward. So I'll pause there for a moment and see if that makes sense to everybody. Any reservations about that, or anything you want to say about change in process? Okay, you're exhausted after yesterday, and you knew it was Cinco de Mayo and were able to have 2 margaritas. So I'll pause for just a moment so you can think about that. And then I never do things in order, so the first one we go through, I'm going to start with you, Thais, but we'll wait 1 minute before we do. And we're talking about just saying Shawn Joseph and what are the things that things. You have to have an exhaustive list, and then always in a process like this, it's perfectly okay to pass. And if you want to pass it, there's no message in that. It doesn't mean to the candidate you didn't say anything positive. It doesn't mean to any of the rest of us that. It's just that you prefer not saying anything at that point because it's either already been said or you simply do not have anything you want to add at that point.
What if I don't want to go first?
If you don't want to go first, then I'll start in the middle and go sideways.
Hi, where are we?
We're ready to start doing Shawn Joseph.
Okay, I think Shawn Joseph's, can I get started?
You can start,
All right,
go.
I think Shawn Joseph's interview was excellent. He expressed himself well, he clearly articulated not only the vision that he had for his previous district, but actually gave some insight into what he would hope to see happen here in Nashville. His passion for leadership development and central office development was also clearly evident. Just the progress that he has been able to make in his role within his district was also very impressive. So I would like to see Shawn Joseph on the slate.
Okay, thank you. Anna, can we go this way,
Sure.
please?
Everything that my colleague said, and he is my number one choice.
Okay, thank you. If I can add one thing, and Anna.
I
it's
get to
not-
say that too? He's my number one choice.
Yeah, it's not fair to all of you to say it after the fact, but probably it's best in this first round that we not indicate order of preference, only because we saw him for an hour and 15 minutes, but I know you've done a lot of other work on it in addition. But we want all three to come in if you do, when they come back in to have a shot at. You'll see them for a full day. So I would prefer that. And so jury disregard the previous two statements. Right? Okay, thank you both.
It was just a
Will,
question.
please.
Yeah, I was really impressed. I thought that he checks one of my most important boxes, which is he's clearly a great communicator, and that shined through in the discussion. I think that he comes well recommended and has a great reputation. There was, for anybody who didn't see it, there was a story about him in the Washington Post last night that's worth looking at, favorable view.
Okay, thank you. Mary?
I also have a very favorable view of Shawn Joseph. Felt like he was a solid communicator. I loved his disposition, and he definitely brought clear examples of things that he would like to see in Nashville, especially as regard to our priority schools. And probably the biggest takeaway I had was his phrase on assessments that weighing a pig doesn't necessarily make it fatter if you do it over and over again. And I thought that just was a great analogy. I liked him being able to, the way he communicates. So
Yeah,
yes, very
that
favorable.
was a good visual image, I imagine, the big way. Amy?
I think everyone has said what I would have said. I will just say that I found him to be very articulate, very thorough in his responses and detailed. He seems to have a very clear vision, and he is a likable fellow. So I also had a favorable impression, would like to keep him on the list.
Okay, thank you. Thais?
Yes, I can echo everything they've said. I also like that in his vision, or with everything that he's done and all of the questions that we asked of him, he could give solid examples as to the work that he'd done in those areas. So I'd also like to keep him on the slate.
Okay, thank you. Joanne?
I felt that Dr. Joseph was a strong candidate and that he met the criteria that we had set forth early on.
Okay, thank you for that reminder. That's good. Jill, please?
I also felt very positive about Shawn, and I like the fact that he served as superintendent before, that Prince George's County is one that has made a lot of progress. He brings a lot of hope to this district, or could bring a lot of hope to this district. And I love his focus on literacy, reading, the fact that he's got a master's degree in reading is very interesting to me, and I think would be an asset to our district.
Okay, thank you. It didn't surprise me that you picked up on it. Elisa, please.
Yeah, he was great. I loved reading, so echo everything everyone else said. He
Okay.
quoted a poem. That was a nice poem. Bonus.
Did you know that Elisa can memorize poetry? She's got, like, pick one and she'll spit it out. Don't do it right now.
We may need comic relief later on, so you're in charge. Okay, very good, thank you. The next candidate was Bradley Young. And we want to go in the same order, or you want to switch it up, Madam Chair?
I'd like to pass.
Okay. Let's go the opposite direction. Elisa?
Okay, Brad, so I thought he was a strong candidate as well. He's done some great work in the I-Zone, which is known and evident, and lots of us, I didn't go on that trip, but I know that lots of us witnessed that in Memphis on the ground. He was, I appreciate about Brad in the interviews that he is I mean, I've known him for a long time, and his reputation is just stellar in the space that I work in. But he is very to the point, and that is Brad. Like, his answers are succinct, he gets to the point, there's not a lot of superfluity, it's just get to the point, say what I, mean what I say what I mean. And he is the real deal. So I'm a fan.
Yeah,
I would
I
advocate.
just echo what you said about his brief communication and to the point, and he really knows and understands instruction, so that's one of the things that attracted.
I will say one thing, though, that popped, because this is actually true of any of the candidates that I was looking for, is all of us had talked about operating with an uncommon sense of urgency. I mean, that was just repetitive. Through the collective board's desire to see that in the candidate, and this guy is urgent. It's palpable when he talks, and it's palpable in his day-to-day, so.
Great, thank you. Jill?
Yes, I found Bradley to be kind and sincere and genuine. However, the fact that he has not been a principal, that he has an undergraduate degree, makes me feel like he would not be a good fit for this district.
Okay. Joanne?
I enjoyed his presentation, and I think that I would like to see a little more experience in the superintendency
Okay,
in that area.
thank you. Thais?
I actually love Brad. I love what he's doing. I think he's so young and so vibrant. But quite frankly, I think Memphis really, really, really needs him, and I don't want to take him from those kids.
There's a country western song about Memphis, isn't there, about that? A little different. Probably more than one. Amy?
I guess I'll just echo what has already been said. I also enjoyed his presentation, but I am concerned about the lack of education. And I think in central office, even to work in central office, we expect an advanced degree, and he didn't have one, so that concerned me.
Okay. Mary?
I think a lot of what Elisa said, his reputation is absolutely stellar. You cannot find many people who can say negative things about his work and his urgency. I really enjoyed his brief communication. I have some other questions that I'm undecided at this point.
Okay, thank you. Will?
Yeah, so full disclosure, I've known Brad for a long, long time, and a big admirer of the work that he's done in Shelby County. I think that if nothing else, we need to keep him on speed dial for advice and coaching tips as it relates to turnaround work. I think that every kind of moment in time, you're like looking for the best fit. I'm not sure that in this context he's the best fit, but I have a lot of respect for him.
Good. That's a good reminder about fit, and the 9 of you are the ones charged with determining that, so. Anna?
Just to reiterate what a couple of my colleagues have said, I too admire what he's done, and does appear to have a sense of urgency as well, and that's what we all want. But I too am a little concerned with his lack of experience in education.
Okay, thank you. Madam Chair, Sharon? Do you want to comment?
I did. I
Oh,
started.
did you did you start it? Okay, forgive me. Early onset, I think. All right. Next one is Alan Smith. And we'll go Anna, let's start with you this time, please.
I thought that he brought a lot to the table. I enjoyed his personal stories of himself. I think he does bring a lot to the table, and I'd be willing to give him a second glance.
Okay, thank you. Will?
Very nice guy. I mean, clearly has a vision for what he's doing and has done in his different environments. I'm a little concerned about the idea of bringing a deputy from a much smaller, school system into this environment, and would be my only reluctance here. But very nice guy, and enjoyed the conversation.
Okay, thank you. Mary?
I really liked Alan Smith. I enjoyed his presentation. I felt his sense of urgency. I like the approach he takes in diagnosing schools, districts. I think his work in Denver would be comparable to what he could bring to Nashville. So I don't share those concerns, and I would like to see him again.
Okay, thank you. Amy?
Pass.
Pass, okay. Thais?
I was equally impressed as some of my cohorts have spoken, or colleagues, I'm sorry, I'm thinking it's grad school. I also love some of the work that he's done in Denver. I'm very impressed with the work that he's done in Denver, and I think I'd like to see him again.
Okay, thank you. Joanne, please.
Yes, I would just like to have him return so that we could learn more about him.
Very good. Joe?
Yes, I enjoyed his presentation. I like the fact that he talked about the reflection of priorities in the district must be aligned with our priorities, and I'm undecided at this point.
Okay, thank you. Elisa?
I have similar thoughts. Bottom line, though, I would like to see him again.
Okay. Very good. Next one, ready?
I'd like to see him again.
Pardon?
I'd like to see him again.
Okay, thank you. All right, our fourth one, Jesus Jara. And I guess it's, you want to start, Sharon, please?
Start with Lisa.
Okay, Lisa.
I will pass right now.
Okay, thank you.
I'm going to pass right now.
Okay,
Well, his work in Orlando with the Barbara Jenkins is certainly impressive. I'm sure that she has been a good mentor for him. And the demographics speak to the opportunity for him to provide good leadership here. I'd like to see him return.
okay, thank you. Thais?
It's quite interesting. I disagree somewhat. It just appeared that the demographics, and I'm thinking a lot of African-American students that he served in that district versus Caucasian and Hispanic, and African-American kids were very, very low in the district that he served. And I think we have a very high number of African-Americans, children of color, period. And and that's not my only reason. I really like this guy. I'm just concerned about the ability to be able to carry this load.
Okay, thank you. Amy?
I thought that he brought some interesting diversity to the mix, particularly because of our growing English learner population here in Nashville. I thought he also gave thoughtful responses, so I'd be interested in seeing him again.
Okay. Mary, please.
I mean, I think overall I'm undecided. I couldn't get a clear sense of his vision, whereas I could with the others. And I mean, but I am glad that we're not rank ordering because I felt like the last process, my opinion switched during those visits here, the more in depth. So, but I'm still undecided.
Okay, thank you. Will?
You know, he was so soft-spoken, but that also kind of signaled to me he was very thoughtful, and I think it's really hard sometimes to find in an hour and 15 minutes the totality of a person. But what I've started looking at is the backgrounds and just spending a lot of time with the resumes, and to me there are really only two candidates on the slate who have a demonstrated set of experience and track record running not just large, but very, very large complex systems of public schools, and Shawn Joseph is certainly one of those, and I think Jesus Jara fits that as well. And I like the fact that he brought evidence about how they've closed achievement gaps, and seems to me to be one of these kind of soft-spoken but steady hand types, and I would like to see him back.
Okay, thank you.
I too would like to see him back. I really did appreciate some of the innovations that he listed about minority students in math and minority students in AP classes and things like that. And I think he has a true understanding of what it takes to move that needle. So I too would like to see him back.
Okay, thank you. Sharon, do you have anything you want to add?
Yeah, so I think I had to go back and sort of reflect on my notes and the comments because, I'm not the most soft-spoken person in the world, and so it kind of threw me. But I think when I look at, I guess to just repeat, apologize for that, Anna's comments on where we need the growth and the emphasis, it's there in the math. I'd like to hear more about that. but I will have to say I'm undecided.
Okay. Very good. One more.
May I, since I passed before, may I pick up?
Sure.
Yes, thinking about Jesus, I just want to say that I liked his idea of that a part of the curriculum needed to be centralized, the part it's important with, like literacy, because 30% of his population was in a mobility status. I liked what he said about literacy and the fact that his system was 61% economically disadvantaged. I believe he would bring insight that would be helpful to this district, so I'd like to keep him on the list.
Thank you. Anyone else who passed who wants to pick back up? Okay. The last one is Ken Zeff. So Sharon, do you want to start, or do you want to move one direction or the other? It's Anna's turn, so.
Go with that.
Sorry about that.
Okay. I'm really undecided, but in light of the other candidates that I thought brought a lot more to the table than what Ken did, I think that I've got my top three, and I don't think he falls in that top three.
Okay. Will?
I thought it was actually one of the most interesting conversations of the day. I think the model that they're executing or trying to execute down there is, I think worth looking at, just for lessons learned, if for no other reason. I don't think that's what this community is expecting. I have a lot of respect. He's clearly a great intellect, and I do think that some of the expectations here right now are we want an educator, a career educator in that role. So I think that that's, in terms of community expectation, is an issue. But I really enjoyed the conversation, and he's another one that, even if we don't move forward, keep him on speed dial because, we can all learn from each other.
Thank you. Mary, please.
I've definitely found him to be the most inspiring in terms of having a vision, actually being able to bring to at least a lot of the schools that I talk to would love to have that type of organizational structure, and so I absolutely would want to see him again.
Thank you.
I have to give him points for just complete honesty on topics that are controversial on our board. I really disagreed personally with a lot of his stances, but what concerns me most about him is the same thing concerned me about Brad Leon, is that he does not have a degree in education. He's an MBA, and I since this is about education, I really would like someone who has both undergraduate and graduate work in education, and also a lot of good experience on the ground. So I don't support him coming back.
Okay.
I think I like all of these guys, so I'm going to say that first again. I think Ken Zeff is just brilliant. However, I value the educational background so strongly, and I think our district really, truly needs the leadership that it requires, or that a person who has gone through education. Just for instance, the guy that we lost, he has a bachelor's degree, 2 master's degrees, and a doctoral degree in education. And that was one of the questions I was going to ask yesterday. I just wanted to see, because as the candidates were interviewing, you could see the difference in their interview styles and what they were presenting, and the background knowledge, the thorough background knowledge that I think it requires for us to actually move the needle that we keep talking about. So, but outside of that, I think he can run an organization very well, but I don't think this is just a business. I think it's an education, and we need to have someone who is solid, has a solid foundation in how to help kids learn. So I don't want to see him move forward. But I'm sorry.
All right, thank you. Joanne?
I just have my three, so,
Pass?
I
Okay,
pass.
I'll pass too.
okay.
So Ken Zeff, I mean, like Will said, he is clearly brilliant and I think a rare strategic mind. I mean, it was so evident in everything that he said. He has a clear theory of action about how to move the district forward. He's operationalizing the theory. And I think we've struggled as a district to have a clear theory of action that unifies the whole and then enables us to move forward, much less execute against it. And so he was just impressive to me, both because he could clearly articulate the theory, but then also everything that he's doing in terms of budget, management, everything is lined up to make the theory come to life. And he was very specific, I mean, in terms of in terms of getting things done, whether it was with the legislature around evaluations, I couldn't believe that. I mean, it was just so smart in terms of like playing the long game, trying to figure out, okay, you know what, the evaluation system, 6 per year, that's not working for us, this rote way of approaching evaluations. And he said, we have to change it. And then he very systematically worked back channels and the politics of it to actually change it, which I couldn't believe it. I was like, he actually did it. And so so like constant examples from something big like that is very hard to move the needle against, to small things about just the way he thinks about human nature and how to actually influence and motivate people. So when we asked him the question about how, because anyone who's worked in large organizations, like the middle layer, sure, like the executives at the top can say all they want about the vision, cast it, put forth, we need to do X, Y, and Z. And then in the middle, who knows what the heck is happening in the middle? Like, everything gets lost, and all of a sudden what was this becomes this all through the chain. And he recognizes that deeply, that everything gets stymied if you don't have everyone across the organization like singing the same tune. And the simplest thing of just like telling people you have to get to a yes. Like, don't say no to our principals. You know, you have to say yes if this, yes if. And I was thinking, gosh, I've been managing people for 20 years, and that is the most brilliant thing. I mean, it's just a simple little thing, but it changes everything in terms of the mindset of how you should operate then with your people, and who you're really trying to serve. And it's clear that he is trying to serve his principals, kids first, and the leverage is through principals and teachers. I mean, it is so clear. And that the central office then is there not to just be there, but to like serve the people in the buildings. And so even just that little example I thought was just ingenious. And there's a bunch, I'm going on and on, but like, he was just articulate, yes, strategically brilliant, very clear, pragmatic, humble. I mean, I think that, yeah, he was very impressive. Not surprisingly, I want to see him again.
You hit the nail on the head. Obviously, you understand leadership and impact in organization. What people that I talked to about Ken had to say was he's one of those rare people who is a strategic thinker, but also knows how to get from point A to point B and get the people involved to do it. So, okay.
Yeah, so, like Elisa, she didn't struggle, but with all of that, I still struggled with and I know this isn't what he said, but I'm trying to dig my way out of, if you just let all public schools function like charter schools and everything will be okay. That's what I'm still trying to dig my way out of. And so, and I don't know that, we're ready for that, if that's the solution he's gonna bring. But when you look at, from a management perspective, that vision casting, that getting everybody to sing from the same page in the hymn book, a lot of candidates talked about servant leadership, which is something important to me, and especially in this arena of education, and that instilling that concept of servant leadership at the level where it matters, at the level where it can actually make a difference, at the level among the people that you're expecting to provide that service and that leadership to our building level leaders and to our teachers. And if nothing else, hearing more about how that culture change takes place, I would be interested in that conversation.
Okay, thank you. So, thank you for that. What I'd suggest now is you think deeply for a minute, and then if you'll take one of those sheets that have the 6 names, and of course now it's down to 5, and just please first of all, put your name out. I feel like I'm back teaching middle school science. Put your name on paper because that's legally required. And then if you would just circle those, and then Sharon, I think it would be helpful, so the trust factor is there, if you would ask two people on the board with me to count those, and we'll take a minute or two break.
Can you take
before we come
Cameo
back.
and Bridget?
Whomever you suggest,
Cameo and Bridget.
okay?
Oh, what am I doing now? I'm sorry, I need my job.
Sir, for your selection,
Oh, okay.
top 13.